Hello and welcome to a short video on the latest development update for Bannerlord. This is the ranged combat update, and I'm extremely excited about this because they're actually changing and indeed tweaking a number of things to do with bows, crossbows, and indeed throwing weapons as well. So they've also made a video on this. If you want to check that out, obviously you can do that. Otherwise, I'm just going to give you my opinion on what is currently being done here. Education is looking really good, by the way. So I'm going to just touch upon that after the initial ranged combat here. Anyway, a substantial change to ranged combat is in the works that aims to present you with a more meaningful choice when selecting a ranged weapon by making each of them more distinct from one another. Currently, all ranged weapons share the same aiming system, with the initial crosshair and accuracy timings being the same across the board. With this update, each weapon will have its own unique aiming curve. For example, short bows will reach their maximum accuracy faster and be able to hold their aim for longer, while longbows will take more time to reach their maximum accuracy and have a shorter window for aiming, but will deal higher single-shot damage. Alright, so apart from that, that's fantastic. I love this. This makes everything so much more unique feeling, and, well, they actually say that, haha, hilariously enough. That was actually my own words there, but they apparently said that as well. Anyway, point is, every single ranged weapon is going to have a different feel to it, and I very much like that, and that's definitely going to make playing with a ranged weapon much more rewarding as well, because it's going to give every single player a certain amount of uniqueness in their own playstyle. So for example, if you're someone that's not particularly good with, I don't know, throwing weapons, in my case, but maybe you're good with bows, then it's going to be different, you know? It's going to be a little bit different with how everything reacts to you and the accuracy of those weapons, and I'm very much looking forward to the ranged combat update. Obviously, I'm not playing on the latest version at the moment in my current series, but this is all looking very positive indeed. Anyway, education. This is going to be fantastic. I love this because right now there's basically not much that is really benefiting having a child, with the exception of being able to take over control of their lives, I suppose, if your main character does end up dying. But anyway, they say here, education is a feature that will allow you to interact with and shape your offspring and other young clan members as they reach certain ages throughout their childhood. This will present you with a number of choices, similar to your own character creation for each progression stage, giving you much more control over how your clan develops over time. I like this very much. Personally, I feel like the current progression for children is a little bit too slow. That is just my own personal opinion, of course. If you want it to be very much more realistic, then all the power to you. That's absolutely fine. However, I do think that maybe these progression stages that they're talking about here could be reached just that little bit quicker, because you want a lot of interaction with your family members, with your clan members, to kind of build relationships between each other and form a bond that is actually going to make you care about them. Because at the moment, that bond isn't really there, at least in my opinion, because whenever I have had a child, or many children in some cases in some of my series, I always think to myself, okay, well, that's basically a fire and forget kind of feature. Because while it's cool, don't get me wrong, I very much like the feature in general, because it does allow you to potentially play as that character if your main characters end up dying. In other words, your main character, then your spouse, and then anyone else that is a little bit older than your children. But yes, I think this is going to be very cool. I would love to be able to have more interaction with these people and to form a better bond with them and get closer. And that indeed does have the added benefit of making it so that if they do end up perishing for any reason whatsoever, then you're going to feel it much more in your heart, rather than just be like, oh, okay. You know, that's the kind of thing that will happen round about now. Even though you will be kind of disappointed and maybe a little bit irritated by someone perishing, for example, your spouse. Let's just not even talk about the Sturgian Viking series right now because, yeah, I had to rename my clan to Black Widow for obvious reasons. But anyway, let's move on. Education sounds very fun right now. Mangonel projectiles. An update to mangonels is on its way that will bring closer to their historical anti-infantry roots by giving you the option to fling multiple smaller projectiles towards the enemy instead of a single boulder. Now, this for me is fantastic. This is the kind of thing I love to see because for me personally, I'm pretty terrible at using siege weapons, but having smaller projectiles flying through the air and seeing those hit numerous targets will be extremely rewarding and a lot of fun to watch. Anyway, that's cool. I'm happy to see that. Anyway, lame horses. Ah, yes. Horses that fall in combat can now be crippled or even killed outright, with lame horses that go on to fall in future battles being permanently downed. Okay, yeah. So that's basically, they're just adding that in from Warband because that is how horse combat has always been in previous iterations of Mount and Blade. So they're obviously just adding that back, and that's absolutely fine, no problem at all there. Radial order menu. Okay, so this is being added to make the game more accessible for people playing with controllers, and they want feedback on that. So if you do play with a controller, then by all means let them know what's going on with it, if it's any good, if they can improve it or remove something that's annoying or whatever the case may be. They're looking for feedback on that. Otherwise, a change to prisoner recruitment. Ah, okay. So when I first read this, I thought to myself, oh, they're going to make it so that you can recruit any rank of prisoner. Actually, that's not what they're doing at all. Yes, no, the change to prisoner recruitment that they want to do is making it more difficult. So what they're going to do is they're going to make it so that prisoners will provide some kind of morale penalty for your party, and they are also planning on adding perks that will reduce the penalty of that, which I think is okay, but I think roguery skill is probably going to be what they'll place the perks in. Roguery skill is, in my opinion, quite difficult to level up with the exception of selling prisoners, so it's a bit of a contradiction in that way because you have roguery skill which levels up from doing rogue stuff, in other words, sneaking into towns, raiding villages, and what else is it? Selling prisoners, yes. Now, selling prisoners is, of course, going to level up roguery. However, when you want to recruit prisoners, you're selling the prisoners that you want to recruit. It's kind of got that contradiction to it, which is a little bit... I'm not entirely sure if I agree on that, but, you know, that is just my own personal thought on it. What I would recommend here is potentially making a number of other things count towards roguery, because the highest I've ever leveled up roguery, I think, is about 75, and that is with experience gains increased due to Bannerlord tweaks. But without that, roguery is going to be very, very difficult to level up. I think I might have gotten it a little bit higher, but anyway, I'm interested to see what will happen with this, but obviously recruiting prisoners in Warband also had that morale penalty, so that's going to be interested to see. I'm going to be interested to see what happens with that. Anyway, follow command. Aha, yes, now this is fantastic. This is a great quality of life improvement. I was very pleased to see this change. And basically, you just hold down the left Alt key and click on the party that you want to follow, and then everything becomes so much better and so much smoother when you want to follow someone, and it's great. This is a very nice thing indeed. You know me. If you've seen any of my series, you know I tend to, well, I say a lot about quality of life improvements, and that's the reason why I generally tend to use quite a few mods that add in those quality of life improvements, but it's really nice to see that they've added this one, and I'm looking forward to it. Anyway, they have new Botanian armor on the way, and this armor features a decorative bronze disc and a tartan shawl over a sturdy chainmail vest. All right. Happy to see that. Definitely happy to see new variety in Botanian armor. And that's it. There you go. That's it for development update number 5. And if you want to leave a comment, then obviously you can do that. And yeah, this is just on the Steam page for Bannerlord. But overall, I think that the ranged combat update is looking really good. The education, I'm looking forward to seeing what they decide to do with that. But having, as I've said before, having choices in your child's character progression is definitely going to make huge amounts of leaps and strides into forming a deeper bond with that character and actually caring about them just that much more. Otherwise, all of this is great. I don't really care too much about the Botanian chainmail, to be honest, and I feel like the prisoner recruitment could be changed a little bit more by making it so that if it does incur a morale penalty, I think that it should also allow you to recruit higher tier units, because allowing us to recruit tier 4 and below, I think that's absolutely fine. Don't have a problem with any kind of limit on that, because if you are going to recruit a tier 6 unit, then obviously it's going to be extremely powerful for you to be able to do that. However, that with the morale penalty combined, it's going to be a double-edged sword, and I think that that is indeed then balanced, because it's unlikely that you're going to be able to recruit 100 tier 6 units in a very short span of time and then just become an absolute monster on the world map. So it is a little bit balanced in that way, but otherwise, that's it for my thoughts on this. And if you like this kind of format where I just talk about what's actually going on here and I give my opinion on it, then by all means let me know, and you can help me out by liking the video if you so desire. But otherwise, I thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.